Kadosh, we know the Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim means that whatever happened to our forefathers is going to be a sign for their children. And what we call in English, or really it's French, déjà vu. What does that mean exactly? It means that whatever happens will repeat itself throughout history. Now listen to this with Yaakov Avinu, with his prayers and his present that he sends to Esav. He actually triggered Purim. Now you're going to tell me Yaakov Avinu, presents that he's giving to Esav, Purim. What's the connection? So listen to this. Immediately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes, right, and he's listening to Yaakov's tefillah, and Yaakov's tefillah is, Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me, please, from my brother from the hands of Esav. The Balaturim says, Hatzileni na miyad, save me from the hands, Hatzileni hey, right, na, nun, miyad, from the hands, mem, Rashet Tevot Haman, which means that he was praying that Haman should not come and hit them like a mother on a child. So therefore, even though Yaakov Avinu was praying for himself and that Esav shouldn't come and smite him and his children, he's also praying for Haman, that Haman shouldn't come and smite the Bnei Israel, right, during that episode, during the time of the Purim. But more than that, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, right, on Pasuk Tetvav, what does it say? Izim matayim, shamati mimori zekeni, I heard from my rabbis, from my masters, shenitkaven Yaakov becheshbon sheshalach mibaalei chayim becheshbon sa'ir. We know that Esav is called a he-goat, a sa'ir. That's why we come and we send the he-goat la'azazel, right? We send it to Azazel on Kippur, we throw it off a cliff. That's for the Satan, for Samech Mem, we throw it off, right? For the Sitra Chala, for the Tumah. What did he want to do? He wanted to send the numerical value of Sa'ir. What is the numerical value of Sa'ir? Sin is 300, Ain is 70, Yod is 10, so it's 380, Resh is 200, 580. That the numerical value is Takaf. Takaf is strength, power, right? Takif is 580. So therefore, he purposely sent him goats, which were 440, camels and the camels and their children 60, which is going to be 500. Parotu parim, bulls and cows 50. Atanot, the donkeys 30, 580. Why? To break his power. Tkifut tokef is the power of Esav. Sa'ir is Esav. He wanted to destroy it. Now we understand also what happened in Megillat Esther. Megillat Esther in the 9th chapter, Pasuk Kaftet, verse 29, it says, Esther Malka comes and she writes with Mordechai Yehudi, et kol tokef, all the power, everything that happened. What is the tokef here? So it says, the Gemara Megillah, Yutet Amud Aleph 19a, says there's a machloket. The tokef of who? Which power? What are we talking about? Is it of Achashverosh? Is it of Haman? Is it of the miracle of Mordechai and Esther? And now it actually comes up that it's all one. The tokef of Mordechai and Esther was used to push away the tokef. That means the strength, the power of Mordechai and Esther was used to push away the strength and the power of Achashverosh and Haman. But that was all because of the 580 presents that Yaakov Avinu came and he already gave to Esav, his brother Seir, in order to come and in order to control him later on. Beautiful connection. But there's even more, right? And everything in this week's parasha, right? Vayakom balayla hu. Right? What happens? He gets up in the middle of the night. He takes his 2 wives, right? His 2 midwives, his 11 children, and he goes through Ma'avar Yavok. What happened to Dinah? Yaakov Avinu had a daughter, Dinah. What happened to her? So everybody knows when they were in nursery, what did they teach you? They put her where? In a box. He put her in a box. He didn't want Esav to see his daughter, because then Esav would get married to her. He didn't want Esav to marry his daughter. So what did he do? He hid her. He concealed her. Right? What was the outcome though? What happened? She was taken to Shechem. What happens by Mordechai and Esther? By Mordechai and Esther, the Targum Sheni says, Mordechai hid Esther Malka in a room that nobody should see her. But it didn't help. And she was taken to Achashverosh, and that's why that was actually the salvation. So therefore, you see exactly what happened to Yaakov, that he hid Dinah, but she was still taken to Shechem. Mordechai hid Esther, but she was still taken to Achashverosh. But that actually came and gave us the salvation. Okay? The next one was, it says, Yaakov Avinu, he passed the river back in order to get the Pachim Tanim, the small jugs. It says that Mordechai did the exact same thing. It says in Megillat Esther, Vayavor Mordechai, the Gemara in Megillat Tedvav Amud Aleph says, he had to pass by a river in order to get the Jews which were on the other side of the river. Step by step, everything that Yaakov Avinu did happened with Mordechai. Vayaveki Shimon, so he's fighting with a man until the morning. That's why Yaakov is fighting with the man until the morning, until the Shachar. He says that's what actually caused that in the future, right, that night until the morning, Shenat HaMelech, he wasn't able to sleep Achashverosh. Why? Nadedu elyonim and nadu tachtonim. Rashi says the malachim were coming and were bothering him the entire night. So just like by Yaakov Avinu, he was being fought with the malachim, right, with the malach of Esav the entire night, Achashverosh was being bothered the entire night by the malachim, by the angels, and that's why he wasn't able to sleep. And that's why he comes and he says, bring me the book, something's going wrong, I want to find out what's going on, maybe somebody did me a favor, I never paid them back, everything is there. The next one, right, he comes and it says, right, the Geulah, where is going to be the Geulah, the redemption? So it says the redemption was through Mordechai and Esther. So he says that's also because Mordechai and Esther come from Binyamin, because Mordechai, his mother, comes from Yehuda. And that's why it says, the first ones that came in front of Esav were who? The maidservants and their children. Afterwards, it was Leah and her children. And afterwards, it was Rachel and Yosef. He says, why? Rashi says, Acharon Acharon Chaviv, the more precious is last. So first, if he's going to come and he's going to kill the maidservants, okay, fine, kapara, there's wives, but it's the maidservants, it's not his real wives. Then it was Leah, right, and her children. And then it was Rachel and her children. So he comes and he says something incredible. He says like this, he says, right, everything that happened, and that's what's brought down in the Gemara in Yud Bet Amud Bet, Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, it says Mordechai came from Zerah Yehuda. And there it says, his father was from Binyamin, and the mother was from Yehuda. And that's why there was a special preciousness. But more than that was to show you that in the last generation, it was going to come from Binyamin that was going to save them. Meaning, why were we saved during the time of Megillat Esther? Because of this. Because they were put last, and they were the ones that were going to attack. So because of that, we were the ones that were protected because of Rachel. Because of that comes from Binyamin, comes from Rachel. And obviously because of that comes from Yehuda, that comes from Leah, because they were put the most precious at the end. So Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim means everything that happened to our forefathers actually happened to their children later on. So everything that happened to Yaakov Avinu happened throughout the story of Purim, which I think is a beautiful message for us just to realize how everything is already actually hinted in the Torah. Kal Kadosh, Boker Tov. In the beginning of this week's parasha, we see something very interesting. We see Yaakov Avinu is going to encounter Esav, and he prepares himself. And he prepares himself in three different ways. He's got three different strategies of how to tackle Esav. Everyone knows already, whether it's from the Ramban, the Gaon, and everyone, that they say everything that we were really happening in this week's parasha is not only just Yaakov confronting Esav, it's us confronting our exile. It's us when the Mashiach is going to come, which means don't think that the Torah is a history book teaching us history. And by the way, there was a guy called Jacob, and he prepared himself for whether it's war, whether it's for presents, and whether it's for prayers. No. Every single word of the Torah is teaching us a message. And this message is going to be for the future, for us. And therefore, we're going to analyze and delve deep into the parasha, try to see what did he do and what are we supposed to do in this exile. And therefore, they come and they say as follows. We know that there were three different things that he prepared, as I mentioned before, whether it's the present, the tefillah, and milchama, and war. And this is the way that we have to do against our enemies. And therefore, it's taught to us in order to teach us that way we could win and we could come out of our exile. But before even going into it, we're going to understand the following questions. Number one, why is it that he had to look for Esau? Why is he looking for him? Right? Okay, that's question number one. Why does he have to look for him? Go your route, don't pay attention, and that's it. Number two, he sends him real malachim, real angels. Why did he have to send real angels? Send messengers, right? Rashi says, right, there's a whole bunch of different things there, but malachim mamash, real angels. Number three, he comes and he says, by the way, I live with Lavan, and now I have a shor v'chamor. I live with Lavan, now I've got oxes, donkeys. Well, what does it mean? Rashi says, no, because it means that the brachot didn't actually get fulfilled, so don't worry about it. There's something here. And the last question that he asks is, why does it continue saying, Achiv, Esav, Achiv, Esav, my brother, my Esav, Esav, my brother. You know, sometimes it says, Esav Achiv, Esav, my brother. Sometimes it says, your brother Esav. Sometimes it says, Miyad Achiv, from the hand of your brother, the hand of your Esav. What's going on? So therefore, they come and they say like this. To do with the present, right, what is he actually gaining? Right? And tefillah, right? Mitzad echad, he's coming and he's saying, look, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you promised me that I'm going to be protected. And then all of a sudden he comes and he says, I'm praying to Hashem as if that I don't have any guarantees. And to do with war, what does war help? Saying you're dividing your camp into two. If you don't put all your energy in one front, maybe you're going to lose both ends. You're going to lose the fight on both sides of the battle. So therefore, in order to understand this, we have to actually understand like this. The pashtut is the Yaakov Avinu wanted to find out what is in the head of Esav. What's in his brain? Is Esav really Esav, or is Esav his brother? What is he? Is he a brotherlyhood, or is he still Esav like he always was? So he had to send malachim mamash, real angels, because only a real angel will be able to tell you something like that. So he wanted to check, and what did they tell him? He said, no, he's not your brother. He's Esav, and he's coming to fight against you. So fine. So Be'emet, Yaakov did not have to turn to him. He didn't have to come to him. But the fact that he did to find out what's going on, so now that's it. Now it's already too late. Okay. So now that he already has to come, he has to fight. But now, listen to this. When he's fighting during the time of war or during the time of the Geulah. During the time of Geulah, when we're going to be redeemed, B'ezrat Hashem, speedily in our days, we are going to subjugate them. We're going to put them down. Why? It says, we're going to go up on Har Tzion to judge Har Esav. Right? We're going to subdue them. We're going to submit them to us. What happens though is that when we're in Galut, we can't fight them straight on. Right? Why? How are we going to fight them? You have to fight them with double, right? With an oxymoron, with double negatives. What does that mean? With the opposites. Listen carefully. From one point of view, we have to show them that we're subjugating ourselves to them. Mitzad Sheni, on the other hand, though, what are we supposed to do? We have to show them the really be'emet. We're not subjugating ourselves to them. Not only that, we're hinting to them that we don't even suspect for them. We don't even pay attention to them because we're even stronger than them. So how? Where do you see it? You see this throughout the entire parasha. In the entire parasha, he comes and he says, Adoni Esav, my master Esav, Avdecha Yaakov, your servant Yaakov. And he sends him a present to give him kavod, and he sends him all these things, and then he tells him that the brachot are not there. But on the other hand, what does he say? He hints to him, by the way, I'm even stronger than you. How do you know that? I sent him malachim mamash, real malachim. He hinted to him, Tayad mitzot shamarti, I kept the entire Torah. He hints to him, look at all my wealth. I have everything. So therefore, it's like a double thing. That you start thinking, so wait 1 second, something's going on here. He's saying he's a servant. He's saying you're my master. He's giving you presents. He's back. But that's what it is. And you even see it even more also through whether it's even in the tefillah. From tefillah, from one point of view, tefillah, he's saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you guaranteed me that I'm going to have this and I'm going to be protected. But that means Sachani, he comes and he's only asking Rachamim as if he has nothing. And that's the way that we're supposed to go about. And this is exactly what happens later on, right? Also, right, with Yaakov Avinu and Esav, with bowing down. He comes to him and he starts bowing down to him and he starts, but then afterwards he comes and he shows, I'm not afraid of you. I have Yosef. Yosef is going to take, he's not afraid of nothing. Why? Because even though from one point of view, right, he's going to come and he's going to kiss and everything, but he's not afraid. So he shows on one hand that he's submitting himself to him, but then in such a knee, he's hinting to him, by the way, I'm not afraid of you. And then when we go deeper, now we understand, because we just mentioned in the previous shiur, that this is also the war against the Yetzer Hara. What does that mean? The Yetzer Hara, which is symbolized by Esav, also comes to us with both forms. Sometimes he comes to us like a brother, like somebody that loves us. And sometimes he comes to us like an Esav, like a hater, like an enemy. At the beginning, many times he comes and he shows, look how good it's going to be, look everything that you, and all of a sudden, once you're in the middle of doing the Avirah, you realize that you're left empty. You realize that there's nothing there, that something's wrong. So what happens? That's the Yetzer Hara at the beginning. But together with this, sometimes he comes and he's opposite. He's the biggest enemy. So therefore, what a person has to do is he has to actually realize this and do both, which means he has to actually play with both of the things in front of him in order not to make him fall, because he has to realize the present. So when he's doing tefillah, how's he going to do tefillah? So we'll start. What is a tefillah? He's going to start praying to Hashem Yitbarach to save him from the Yetzer Hara. Because if it wasn't that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would save us, nobody would be able to go against the Yetzer Hara. Number two, you have to actually say properly, Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad esav, which means from both. Pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, save me from both sides of the story, from both sides of the coin. Whether it's from my brother or from Esav. I'm not sure which one I'm actually more afraid of. If you remember, we once brought down a brisker Rav that said that Esav is more dangerous as a brother than he is as Esav. Because at least if he's Esav, you know he's your enemy, but you know you're going to keep your eyes on him. But if he's your brother, you trust him too much. And then all of a sudden you fall because you give the trust to a brother that he's not really your brother. So you have to be careful. Number three, during the time of tefillah, you're not allowed to mention your zichuyot, right? But together with this, you have to mention the good things of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you're certain that he's going to save you. That's in tefillah. The next one is milchama, war. How do you go out to war? So the way to go out to war against the Yetzer Hara is aseh tov, is a chelek of sur merah. What does that mean? You can't do a fight, right, head on. If you're going to fight head on, you're usually not going to win. So therefore, how do you have to do it? Split yourself up. Devise different plans. Do different things in order to remember how to fight against him. If you remember, we actually once mentioned that the way to do it is use his weapons against him. Many times when you want to do a mitzvah, what does the Yetzer Hara tell you? I'll do it later. You know what doing later means? You're never going to do it. Why don't you come to shul? Maybe in 5 minutes. No, I became very busy. I wasn't able to. When are you going to start learning Torah? No, once I get a little bit of money. That day never came. Yeah? So what's going to happen? So what happens is that a person has to actually just realize, no, use his weapon against him. How do you use the weapon against him? He says very simple. The weapon that you're supposed to use against him is you're going to say the following. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when the Yetzer Hara comes to me and he's going to start speaking to me about doing an Avirah, tell him, okay, fine, in 5 minutes. I'll do the Avirah. Don't go head on head. I'll do it. 5 minutes. You already just won him. Because you use his weapon against him. Yeah? Doron. What is the Doron? Doron is the present. The present is in the Sur Merah. What does that mean? When you're not only just doing good things, Torah mitzvot. Let's say you're mamash, you're doing things of mundane things. Right? Also here you have to be careful. Right? To serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything. And because of that, you have to place a revach ben eder le'eder. You have to place a space in between each one of them. What does that mean? To try to steal as much as you can whenever you have time to do more Torah mitzvot. That's what you're supposed to do. When we're fighting against the Yetzer Hara, Yaakov Avinu was teaching us how to fight. How to fight. It's not only just once upon a time, a history, right, of a beautiful story that happened between Jacob and Esau, right? No. This is actually between every single one of us. Every single day of our lives, we are going to have a fight with the Yetzer Hara. And number two, the way that we are supposed to act towards Esav in this exile, in order that we should actually understand how to focus and how to actually confront our enemies. B'ezrat Hashem, I just hope that we'll always be able to win our Yetzer Hara in order that we could continue going and growing. B'ezrat Hashem.